we're going to look at using SQL developer to create database objects and view information about them. So I'm connecting to a database called ORCL 11204, which is an 11.2 database. So this is my connection. If I look at the schema definition here, there is no objects, there is no tables, no views, no indexes. So now I'm going to use these statements to create the database objects. First I create a table called students. You can see here I've specified student as the ID as the primary key. This is an inline definition of the primary key constraint. I select this and execute it against the same database. So it tells me the students has been created. I go back to the tables tab and now I can see students here. If I click on it, it shows me a description of the table: student ID, first name, last name, join date, course code, which is the same as this. I can look at constraints to see that there is a constraint which has been automatically named by Oracle, since my create table statement here specified a primary key but not a name for the primary key. So Oracle automatically gave a name for the primary key, which is basically sys_c representing constraint and a running number, and the type is primary key. It is enabled, not deferrable. Since it's a primary key constraint, there is an index behind it. By default the index name is the same as the constraint name. It's a unique index and it is on the student ID column. Let me create the next table. This is the courses table where I have not created a constraint. So yep, it shows me courses is created. Go to tables tab, refresh, and I can see courses as well. So now the courses table is shown here: course code, course name, and course description. If I want to look for constraints, there are no constraints, there are no indexes. The SQL statement for the courses table is visible here. I go back and add a constraint to the courses table. Now this is after creating the table. I am creating a table level primary key constraint, which is a named constraint. I am giving a name called courses pk to the constraint. So it says here table altered, because adding a constraint is an alter table command. There is no such thing as create constraint. It is alter table, add constraint. So I have altered the courses table, added a constraint. I go back to courses, refresh the view, and I can see the SQL statement includes the constraint definition with the name, and I can look at the constraint definition here again, refresh, and I see the courses pk. So this is a named constraint, so obviously the index will also be named. The index name is the same name as the constraint name. Let me take a third example. I am creating a view which is a join of the students in the courses table. Okay, so it says view created. If I go to views, refresh, I can see the student course view. These are the column names, and you can see the column names for the underlying tables are different from the column names in the view, because in my view create view statement I have used aliases. So the student ID from the students table becomes stid, first name from the students table becomes st first name, course name from the courses table becomes course title. So those aliases in the create view statement become the column names in the actual view. So if I look at the SQL statement for the view, these are the column names of the view, and these are the column names underlying from the base tables. So I don't have to have the same names in the view as they are in the underlying tables. So we looked at just a few examples: a table with an inline primary key, a table with a primary key added later, and the primary key named. So you can see the named primary key appearing here as a constraint and as an index, and you can see the view. I can also look at the indexes here, refresh the indexes list, and I can see there are two indexes, courses pk and the courses table, and this implicitly named index on the students table. If I were to gather statistics on any of the tables, that would also be visible. Let me do that. Right now the tables have no rows. So I'm executing a gather table stats, and if I go back to the tables, students table, and look at statistics, it says okay, there are no rows. It was last analyzed today, but table level there are no rows. At column level, statistics indicate no distinct values because there are no values in the rows themselves. So this information will also be available once there are rows and statistics are updated. Similarly, if I issue grants to other schemas, the grants are also visible. So this was a quick introduction to using SQL Developer to create basic objects like tables and regenerating the SQL statement, viewing constraints, viewing indexes, creating views, and viewing the indexes that are created on tables.